Hi everyone, this is Katya and welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new, thank you for subscribing. I hope the content I offer you here inspires you to try new techniques, experiment with your craft products, or maybe even try a new product or two. I know I have not been active on social media for a while, specifically YouTube, and that's because last year I started a new job, which brought some changes to our household, like a commute every day and new things to learn. And then, of course, the holidays arrived, so that put a little damper on my creative time. But today, I'm excited to share two cards that I made using my personal digital cut file called Layered Hearts. You know those fantastic layered dies that you can buy from Birch Press Design that offer those beautiful and gorgeous designs with stunning dimension? Well, I love those, but the price point that they offer those on is just a little bit too rich for me. So I set out a way to find out how I could create my own. So using two different software programs, I came up with a way to create this awesome Layered Hearts digital cut file, and I'm so happy with how the file turned out. I've cut it a couple of times, it's turned out beautiful, and now I'd like to show you how I created these two cards. So using my brother's scan and cut machine, I cut out the digital file, which offers 3 layers. So the first one you see here has the smallest heart openings. And then when you stack the second or the middle layer on top, you get this great dimension. So you could just stack a card just like this and call that good. But then look what happens when you put the third one on top. Look at all that beautiful, gorgeous dimension. Now before I assemble this card, I'm going to be using 2 of the panels, starting with the largest heart openings first. I'm going to be using that panel to help me align and get perfect placement with the heart cutouts that were left over from the die cut. So off to the right hand side, I'm just putting a little bit of glue on my scrap piece of part of the paper so that I don't damage the project or ruin it. And I'm just basically puzzle piecing each one of these hearts right in that space. So then I know that when those hearts are glued down and I lift up the card panel that I'm holding down in place, which has no glue on it, by the way, then I know that the heart pieces are going to be in the exact right perfect spot. So here I am putting the last 2 pieces of the hearts in there. And mind you, at the top, that card panel is sort of taped down in place so that I can get great placement using the heart cutouts on the first layer below. So this is basically my first layer with all those die cuts right in the perfect place. And I'm just lifting up this card panel very carefully because I'm going to be using that for my other card project. So here are my hearts all in a perfect row, and then I'm going to take that medium or the middle layer, I should say, and placing that right on top so that it fits into the square cutout, and then I have perfect placement for these hearts to be right smack dab in the middle where I want them. So using the hearts that you see at the top of the screen, I'm going to just puzzle piece them just like I did the first template and put glue in each one of those openings, and then I know that when I place each one of those die cut hearts into each one of those openings, I know they're going to be in the perfect spot and they will layer in the center directly on top of the hearts that are the larger ones right below. So I finished up that last heart and then I pulled this panel off, and because the liquid glue was still a little wet, one of the hearts or a couple of them needed to be really shifted back in place. So here's all that dimension with the second layer of hearts. And then I didn't bore you by taking you through the third process with the hearts because it was exactly the same method. I placed the smallest die cuts right in the center and I actually just eyeballed those. And then because who doesn't love sparkle and bling and glitter and all that stuff, I decided to take these sparklets embellishment hearts and put them directly on the center of each one of these hearts. So I continue to go forward and take each one of those sparklets hearts and put them in the center of each one of the hearts that you see on my table using that Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. And I really like this adhesive. It does a beautiful job. And I'm leaving this in here because I wanted to tell you that sometimes when you plan a card, you do change your mind midway. And that's what I did with this card. I put each one of those hearts in the center of the card, just like I'm doing right now, but I did it on each one of those hearts. Well, of course, I didn't think to remember that I'm going to be putting a sentiment right across the front of the panel in the middle. So I had to do a little bit of card surgery and remove a couple of those. But I leave that in the video to show you how I did it so that if you run into situations like this, don't be afraid to do what we call card surgery as crafters, and then, fix your card and embellish it a different way. So I'm using my jewel picker here to adhere these flat stone gems in the shape of hearts, and you can't really tell, but they are in the shape of hearts. So I was like, I might as well go big or go home, right? Anyway, so I love how this is turning out, and I wanted to give you a tip. I noticed that when I was using this jewel picker, sometimes I would put the glue down and then try to get the hearts to come off of the jewel picker. And I found sometimes that it helps if you just roll the jewel picker from one side to the other. And that basically allows your gem to stay on your project instead of on your jewel picker. And then here you go. Look at how cute that is with all those hearts. I just love it. So rather than have you watch me painstakingly adhere each one of those flat gems, I did that off camera, but look at this final design. Isn't that card panel so pretty? But I have surgery to do, so stay tuned for that. I decided to then let that glue on those hearts dry, and now I'm going to adhere these three panels together. I didn't record this, but here's what I did. I took the smallest card panel that is going to be the bottom layer, and on a pink piece of cardstock, I actually took an embossing tool that has a rounded edge, and I put an indentation of the hearts. I just sort of traced it around so I would know where to put some glue. Because what I'm doing now is taking some tape runner adhesive, and I'm going to be putting glitter on this. Well, I forgot to hit my record button when I did this portion, but off to the left now you can see where I put the tape runner on each one of those heart openings on that pink cardstock. I sprinkled pink glitter, and it was a little bit more translucent than I thought, so I'm really glad I used the pink cardstock as the base layer. So here I am just putting double-sided adhesive, a really strong version, to put down between each row of where the hearts are. And I know that because this adhesive is really strong, if it does come in contact with the glitter, it won't lift up and it will stay secure. Well, apparently I need to work on my editing skills because in this piece I show you where I'm actually pulling off the adhesive, and then it actually cuts to the part where that card panel is already on the pink cardstock, so I'm so sorry about that. But I did the same thing with this card panel too, and I just adhered it directly over top, and now you can see two layers with the sprinkled glitter in the very opening portions of the smaller hearts. So I don't have glue on this middle panel yet, but I just wanted to see if everything's still lined up, and it did. And then to make everything go a little bit faster, since the middle portion, or middle panel and the top panel of those hearts are not going to be coming in contact with the glitter that I already have on the base portion, I'm going to just basically use adhesive to secure them both down. I think it'll be a little bit quicker, and it will secure just nicely using this Nuvo liquid glue. So applying very quickly this glue, I'm going around each one of the hearts kind of like in a square pattern, so that I know that each portion of that whole card panel will adhere very nicely. And when you get to the third layer, the top one, you'll notice that you have much less room to apply adhesive. So I just felt like the tape would be a little bit too cumbersome to deal with, and I want it to go quickly. So when I'm done putting this glue on and I put this card panel down, you'll see that it lays quite nicely on the top of that first panel, and everything's coming together. So you'll notice that when I put the glue on this card panel, there's definitely a lot of wiggle room to get, and I just felt like liquid adhesive would be a better option than tape, because then I have more wiggle room to make sure that the card panel is centered directly on top of the existing hearts. So clearly I need to work on my editing skills and recording skills, because I'm putting the glue here and running this all over the back of this panel, but I don't actually show that I'm placing it on top of that panel right there on the left-hand side. So unfortunately it's going to cut away, but you know that when you turn this over and you place it on top of that existing panel, you've got a little bit of wiggle room to make sure that it's all nice and secure and right on top of the existing hearts in perfect alignment, and it turned out great. So when I first made the base of the card in pink cardstock, I just left the entire 8.5 by 11 sheet intact, and then I figured I would lay the panels down, the heart layered panels down, and then I would just trim away the excess cardstock, and that's what I'm doing right here. So just trimming all of that away so it lines up with these card panels, which are 4.25 by 5.5. So it is a perfect A2 size card. And then, of course, since this is an SVG, a digital file, anybody else who wants to use it basically would basically be able to resize it. So if you wanted to do a 5 by 7 layer card, you could definitely do that. So now I am scoring both bases of my cards because I'm doing the 2-for-1 card, right? So just scoring that right down at 5.5 and folding the card base in half. And now I will be using liquid glue to secure that panel on top of my card base. Okay, so now I'm going to flip that over and add some adhesive on the back. And adhesive works great when you do these types of cards, I think, sometimes because you have a little bit of wiggle room to make sure that you get the panel completely adhered right in the center so that it doesn't have extent towards the bottom or the top or whatever. So you'll see, I'll flip it over here. And I think it's better for me to lay the card flat to make sure I get it centered. And then I have a little bit of time to flip the card closed and then make sure that it sits right at the top where the card folds at the top. So I have a little bit of wiggle room to do that. And because I'm looking at white on white, it was a little harder for me to see. So here is the second card panel that I'm putting on the top of my card base, also using liquid adhesive. And then flipping that over and putting that on the top. So you'll notice while I wiggle this into place, I think I have it straight, but I don't, because you can see when I fold right at the top there, it wasn't flush with the card base. So I folded the card, made sure it was nice and secure, and now my glue has a chance to dry. So here are my 2 card panels. Here's the first one with all those blingy hearts, so cute. And then here is the second one with the recessed hearts and the glitter right at the base. And look at all that dimension you get. So fun. So I will be adding sentiments on the top. And because these cards are so busy with the backgrounds, I wanted to keep the front of the card panels very simple and have something bold. So I found this beautiful die that I purchased called Hugs, and it's the Scripty Hugs, I think, from Poppy Designs or Poppy Stamps, I think is the name of the company. And I just thought they were perfect to go with these cards. So I will be taking a craft knife and removing this particular heart gem, and I'm going to be doing the other one as well. So you notice that that particular heart came off pretty easily, but this one causes me a little bit of grief. But I left it in here because I wanted to show you that just because you change your mind while you're building your cards or your design changes, you still have an opportunity to work with what you have and not have to start all over. And I was not about to do that with this particular card. I'm leaving this in there also to show you, please don't do what I'm doing and point the knife towards yourself. That's a really silly move, and I could have injured myself. And no, I didn't, but it's not a good idea. So I just wind up peeling that piece off, and you can see that it kind of roughed up a little bit of the paper, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to be covering it right up with this Hugs die cut. So I take this Hugs die, and I already have sticky adhesive on the back of it from my tape runner, and because I know that that's going to be touching paper, I didn't think I would have an issue with making sure that it adhered once I pressed it into place. However, the H and the S on this particular die cut don't really sit flush with the heart because I have quite a bit of dimension with that pink heart right in the middle. So I wind up just taking some foam adhesive and sticking it underneath there, doing a little bit more card surgery to make sure that the H and the S are sitting flush with the rest of the sentiment. So you'll see me cut a little piece of foam adhesive for each one and then sticking them right underneath there. So I didn't press down very hard yet, but I put them right in there and I adhere them down. So I also did the same thing that I'm doing to the S, I do to the H as well. Okay, so here I am just snipping off a little bit of foam tape, and I'm going to be putting it under the H, and I have absolutely no idea why I spin this card around. I think I was just trying to find the best way to put that foam piece underneath. I wound up just sticking it in there the best way that I could see it, which was kind of off camera, so I apologize if you can't see what I'm doing here. But basically just putting that foam square right underneath that H, and it adheres directly, perfectly right across those rows of hearts. So there is so much dimension on this card, and this would definitely be something that I would hand deliver rather than putting in the mail unless you put it in a bubble wrapped envelope. But I love the dimension that you get with the die cuts of the hug sentiment and the hearts and the gems. There's so much going on with this card. It's definitely a girly girl card. And then here is the second one. I did the same thing. This one was a little easier because I was working with a flat surface and just did the card this way. And then I put the hugs across in gold with a pink background and tied it all together by putting those gems right in on the card panel in just different places that I thought would make it look nice. So I think they both turned out great. I would love to know in the comments below, which card is your favorite? Do you like the ones where you have the stacked hearts and each one has the sequence on the left there with the heart in the middle, or do you like the simpler one on the right-hand side? Let me know which one's your favorite, and I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Here is another look at these two cards in nice bright light so you can see everything. I hope you have a fabulous crafty day. Thank you for stopping by, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, share, and comment on the videos. I love chatting with you guys and collaborating. Thank you so much again. I hope you have a great day, and ciao for now. Bye.